All right, last time we talked about how to find the surface area and volume of a sphere. Today we're going to be talking about finding the surface area and volume of prisms and cylinders. Now, before we get into surface area and volume of prisms and cylinders, we have to first talk about the different types of surface area. There are two types. One is called lateral surface area, and the second is total surface area. So the lateral surface area is the area of the surface of an object, not including the base or bases. So if your object just has one base, then the lateral surface area is the area of everything other than that one base. If your object has two bases, then the lateral surface area is the area of everything other than those two bases. All right, and the second one is total surface area. This is the area of the surface of an object including the bases. So this is everything, the total surface area of that object. All right, so now let's get into surface area and volume of prisms. So in general, you will be working with what we call right rectangular prisms. The lateral surface area of a right rectangular prism is the area of everything other than the base, the part that's touching the bottom, and the top. So that means the other four sides need to be accounted for. So we have the height times the width, we've got two of those, and we've got the length times the height, we've got two of those. So that's how you find the lateral surface area of a right rectangular prism. Now for the total surface area, that's going to be the lateral surface area plus the areas of the top and bottom of this prism. Now the area of that would be length times width, and we have two of those. So this is really just the lateral surface area plus 2 times the length times the width. Okay, and then for the volume, this is how much space this takes up. That's going to be the length times the width times the height. Or you can also alternatively use this formula here. Base times height. So capital B represents the area of the base. Now, when you're using this formula here, you can actually find the volume of any prism, not just a rectangular prism. Now, we call this a rectangular prism because the area of the base is in the shape of a rectangle. If the base had the shape of, say, a trapezoid, we would call it a trapezoidal prism. And to find the volume of that, you would find the area of the trapezoid and then multiply that by the height. All right, take a look at example 1. Find the lateral surface area, total surface area, and volume of the prism below. All right, so let's start with the lateral area. That's 2 times the height times the width plus 2 times the length times the height. Label the length, the width, and the height of this prism, and then we can plug in some numbers. So we have 2 times 6 times 5 plus 2 times 10 times 6. So that gives us 2 times 30 and 2 times 60, which is going to be 60 and 120. Add those together and we get 180, and this is in square inches because this is an area that we're finding, right? This is the area of all the surfaces other than the top and bottom of the prism. All right, next we have to find the total surface area. So this is going to be, well, everything that we just found, and then also the area of the top and the bottom. So this is going to be 2 times 10 times 5 plus 2 times 6 times 5 plus 2 times 10 times 6. So we have 2 times 50, 2 times 30, and 2 times 60. So this is 100 plus 60 plus 120, which is equal to 280 square inches. So now we found the total surface area. So that's the lateral surface area plus the area of both bases. All right, lastly, we need to find the volume of this prism, and that is going to be length times width times height. So this will be 10 times 5 times 6, which is equal to 300. And since we're finding the volume, this is going to be 300 cubic inches. All right, let's take a look at example 2. Given the volume below, find the value of U. All right, so in this example, you are actually given the volume and you have to determine what that height is. So here you're given the width and the length. You need to find the height, which we're representing with a U. We're given the volume, which is 560 cubic feet. And so now I'm going to use the formula for volume, which is length times width times height. And I'm going to put everything I know into this equation. So the volume is 560, the length is 8, the width is 7, and we need to find the height, U. All right, simplifying, we have 560 equals 56U. Divide both sides by 56 and we get U is equal to 10. And since this is all in feet, the height must also be in feet as well. And this is just the measurement of the height, so there's no square feet or cubic feet. It's just 10 feet. All right, let's move on to cylinders. So here are the formulas to find the surface area and volume of cylinders. So first we have the lateral surface area of a cylinder, and this is given by this formula, 2 pi r times h. You can imagine this as, say you had this cylinder, imagine it's a can, and you had a label on this can. In order to determine the area of that label, imagine taking the label off of that can and measuring, well, the height is going to be the width of that label, and then the length of that label is really just the circumference of that circle. So the circumference of the circle, you'll remember, is 2 pi r. So to find the area of that label, that would be 2 pi r, the length, times h, which is the width. All right, and then to find the total surface area, now you have to include the areas of the bases, so the top and bottom portions there. So since this is a cylinder, the bases are circles. The area of a circle is pi r squared, and we've got 2 of them. So we have 2 pi r squared plus the lateral area, which is 2 pi r h. Lastly, we have the volume. Remember that to find the volume of a prism, we found the area of the base times the height, and that's exactly what we're doing here as well. The area of the base is pi r squared, and then we multiply that by the height. All right, let's take a look at example 3. Find the lateral surface area, total surface area, and volume of the cylinder below. Okay, so here we have the radius as 6 and the height as 11. So to find the lateral area, that's going to be 2 pi r h, so 2 pi times 6 times 11. Multiplying that out, we end up with 414.7, and since this is an area, this is going to be square feet. All right, next, to find the total surface area, that is 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi r h. So this will be 2 pi times 6 squared plus 2 pi times 6 times 11. For 2 pi 6 squared, make sure you're squaring the 6 first before you multiply it by 2 pi. This ends up being 226.2 plus 414.7. Adding those together, we get that this is 640.9. Again, this is an area, so the units here are going to be square feet. Okay, lastly, we need to find the volume of the cylinder. So the volume is pi r squared times h. So we need to find the area of the base, which is pi r squared, so pi times 6 squared, and then multiply it by the height, which is 11. All right, and then we can go ahead and square the 6 before we multiply by pi and 11, and that gives us that this is around 1244.1, and because this is volume, your units are going to be cubic feet. All right, example 4. Given the surface area below, find the value of z. All right, so we have the surface area as 1,202 square inches. We have the radius as 7.5, and we have the height, which we're trying to find, is z. So now I'm going to plug everything that I have into the formula for the total surface area of a cylinder. So that would be 1,202 equals 2 pi times 7.5 squared plus 2 pi times 7.5 times z. Now I need to get z by itself, so I'm going to start by simplifying everything before trying to do things to both sides of the equation. So 7.5 squared times 2 pi comes out to be 353.4, and then 2 pi times 7.5 is about 47.1. Now I'm going to subtract 353.4 from both sides. That leaves me with 848.6 equals 47.1 times z. And now I can divide both sides by 47.1 and get that z is about 18. And since z is representing the height here, this is going to be in inches. So this is 18 inches.